How's it going, folks? Welcome back to Power Hour. My name is Eric Estep. I'm joined by NASCAR driver extraordinaire Brennan Poole. Brennan, it is great to see you, man. This is our first official episode of the season. We've both been super busy with the new year, new projects. You guys have found some speed, your top 15 in points, but this is really, we haven't even talked all that much the last couple months. We haven't talked much since your epic victory in our pizza making competition at Daytona. I see you're still celebrating the spoils of victory behind you there, but how you been, man? How these last couple months been treating you?
Yeah, man, everything's been really good. I've certainly missed being able to chat and talk about everything that's happening in the NASCAR world. So, yeah, I'm really going to enjoy getting to hang out with you here and talk, and I hope everybody listening is going to enjoy it too. And I am still reminiscing about the victory. I think I have my trophy up. Can you see?
Where?
Oh, it's just barely hidden by the light, but it's right there. That was the trophy that I won for beating you in the pizza cook-off, and yeah, if you guys are seeing double watching this on YouTube, there's my Roma pizza cutout from the Daytona race weekend. So
I like it.
Just to rub it in a little bit more, Eric.
It's all right. Yeah, I'm just gonna be looking over your shoulder this entire show and just shaking my head.
Feeling sad.
Yeah, it was fun though. We appreciate everyone that came out. Daytona feels like a lifetime ago. So much has happened. We're going to get to a lot of the latest news. Obviously, for those, everyone knows, Brendan, full-time in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, so we'll talk a little O'Reilly. O'Reilly trending up, although I know there were some comments this week from one of NASCAR's senior executives that everyone's like, huh? Everyone's sort of like, whoa. So we'll get your take on that in a few minutes. We'll talk some Cup Series stuff as well, and then, of course, Talladega this weekend. Brendan, I know you have some good and some mixed memories at Talladega over the course of your career, but I saw that post from Alpha Prime Racing's Twitter account. Sounds like your team is heading into this weekend with a little extra dose of confidence. I love it. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've just been so close together as a group at the super speedways, whether it was Daytona this year or Talladega a year ago. So I think the team is feeling, like we have a good shot going into this weekend. But yeah. It's one of those places where you have to miss all the chaos and you just have to put yourself in the perfect position, and if you're able to do that, then you'll have a shot to win the race. And we've been fortunate enough; we've been able to do that multiple times. So I think everyone is expecting me to to make it happen this weekend. But right. Yeah, I mean, I feel good about it. We've definitely made our cars a little bit faster from last year to this year. So I'm looking forward to this weekend for sure.
Absolutely. So we'll get to all that and so much more. I just want to start here, though, Brennan. Again, it's been a couple months since we've done a show like this, and in those couple of months, you've been super consistent on the racetrack. I think you have 9 top 20 finishes in the first 10 races of the year. You're 15th in points. Last couple of years, you've been top 20 for a couple of years in a row now, but I think 15th. I think your previous high at the end of the year was like 16th or 17th. So 15th right now, trending the right direction. You're still, when they put that graphic up on screen at the end of the race, it's like, the chase bubble. You're still right there in the picture. So, I mean, just tell me about your season. I mean, you've been super consistent. How's the year been going for you guys at the 44?
Well, we sat out at the beginning of the year in the off season and started talking about how to be better. And I think, for me, I started looking back at all the results from the previous years, and I just, talk to my guys about, can we be 2.5% better? Can I be 2.5% better? Can you be 2.5% better? Can you be 2.5% better? Can you be It's just 2.5%, and we can fight for race wins. And I think, going to Daytona, the first race of the year, and having a shot to win the race on the last lap, going down the backstretch and just, getting a little bit out of shape, trying to make the pass for the win. I think just got everybody fired up, and the guys have been building me really good race cars, that aren't breaking. They're staying put together. We're minimizing mistakes, and we're just going out there every week and taking our race car and making it finish the best that it's capable of finishing. And a lot of weeks that's been right. It's been a 10th. It's been a 12th. It's been an 18th. Been a 14th. We've just been able to consistently do that, and that's what it takes. Stacking points and trying to be consistent. We haven't been able to get stage points yet. So if you do look at the numbers, it's like I am one race back from the playoffs, and I have 0 stage points so far this year. So
oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, the next several in front of me, it's like 42.
Oh,
so it's the stage points are killing us. But I think if we can find a way to get in there and fight for some stage points, we can really be in the mix as far as making the 12. But we just really have to keep doing what we're doing and no mistakes and top 20 them to death, man. And we've been able to pretty much do that so far. We've got one race in there at Phoenix, which is a little bit of a weird one. But, other than that, things have gone really well. And I think we're all enjoying it and having a lot of fun. And our group is close. Some of these guys we've been working together for the last several years. And so it's a tight group and it's been really, really enjoyable. So we just have to keep it going. 10 down and what is that? 23 more to go. So
something like that. Yeah. And y'all haven't had an off week yet. We're in this weird stretch where the O'Reilly Series has run more races than the Cup Series.
Yes.
At least points races. So we're in this weird imbalanced stretch. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the points and everyone right in front of you. It's like 32, 46, 44, 0. And then behind you, 35, 13, 21. So it just shows how you guys have done a great job finishing and capitalizing on others' mistakes, because that's the thing about the O'Reilly season. We can get into some of the kind of early season O'Reilly storylines here. Like, we knew coming into this year a lot of young, so far unproven drivers in really good cars. And I think we're starting to see a few of those guys, come out of their shell and really perform. Like, we're starting to see Corey Day figure it out, still make some mistakes here and there, but he's got speed. I mean, we're seeing Rajah Caruth run top 10 often, whether he's in the 88 or the 32. Brent Cruz, now he's full-time. He just turned 18 years old and he already looks like a contender. So we're seeing these young guys start to figure it out, but they are still young and inexperienced, which is why when you look at the points, Justin Allgaier, the vet, has a 130-point lead over the field. And then, it's Sheldon Creed, who at this point is a series vet. He finally got his first win this year. Brandon Jones, a vet, has a win this year. Austin Hill, like the old guys of the O'Reilly series, if you will, are the ones winning the most races right now and dominating the points. So, I mean, what have you seen from some of these young guys? I mean, I'll give credit as William Sawalich. He's been inconsistent, but he did get a win a couple weeks back. So, these young guys are showing up. They're showing out from time to time. But what's the dynamic been like this year? Because it does overall feel like the veterans have had the advantage week in, week out.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sawalich for sure gets like most improved, right, from last year to this year, especially in getting the first win. He's done a much better job. But Brent Cruz is definitely impressive. Those guys are in the best equipment in the field too. So
Taylor Gray with a win recently as well. Gray, yes, shout him out too.
Yeah, he's done a good job. I don't know, but I look at a guy like Justin Allgaier, who's won his 3 races in a massive point lead and everything else. I think he's just at a great spot mentally, and I think he's just really also enjoying himself. And it shows. I mean, he is just fast and right there every single week. And so that, to me, that's been like the most impressive thing to see so far this year. And then I think, what has been kind of interesting for me is like maybe Austin Hill and Jesse Love and them struggling for speed at times. I don't know if you're noticing that, but for us as an organization, we're looking at it going like, I'm racing those guys sometimes. So it's I don't know. Will they find more speed when we get down to the playoffs? There's still a long way to go, but I just find that interesting as well. But yeah, the young guys have done a really good job. Sheldon Creed's done a good job, got his first win. He's running up front. I mean, second at Kansas, this past week. I mean, he's right there, and he has really sort of been the top Haas car. And Sam Mayer's been struggling. That to me also is a little bit kind of like, I wonder what's happening there between those teams. Is it confidence from Sheldon getting that win and his whole team, just now starting to rally around him like, oh my gosh, he can do it. And now it's showing, there's so many different elements. And I think that's what's so cool about the O'Reilly series is that you have all these different storylines that are happening, not just with the veteran guy that's got the huge point lead that's won so many races, but a guy that gets his first win and now he looks like a real serious threat for the championship. You got a past champion who's maybe struggling, his team's struggling a little bit. You've got these new guys, Sawalich getting his first win, Brent Cruz, who missed the first part of the season, but now he's climbing back through the ranks and is in the fight. It's very, very interesting, and I think that's why it makes it so fun to watch. I think it's why the fans are tuning in, and our viewership keeps going up because there is a lot of movement and action and things happening and drama and suspense.
Yeah, I love it. That's what we need. Well, speaking of that, I mean, you mentioned Jesse Love, Austin Hill. I have noticed that RCR. I mean, Love is third in points. He's running top 5 most weeks, but he doesn't have a win yet this year. He's the defending series champion. I think he won 3 races last season, so it's like, okay, expect to have a win by now, third of the way through the season. And then Austin Hill, yes, he won Daytona because that's what he does. But outside of that, he's 8th in points this year. I think he's been very inconsistent by that team's typical standards. And then this weekend, I don't know if you saw the replay, they were battling inside the top 10. Looked like Jesse just squeezed Austin Hill, center of the corner. 21 got loose, spun out. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what have you seen from those two? Just diving into that team, because I know on the Cup side, obviously, RCR just fans are taking shots at them every week because they, at least with Kyle Busch, can't seem to do anything right week to week. But the O'Reilly series has been their strength the last couple of years. I think everyone looks at Jesse Love, especially as one of the next Cup guys that could go full time as soon as next year. But what are you seeing? Do you feel like it's maybe a combination of car and driver, just circumstances? Like, what have you seen from those guys this year?
Well, I think everybody pushes to be better, right? And sometimes during that push, you end up losing a little bit, and I think there could be some of that happening. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the two, everybody wants to beat their teammate. He does. He goes right down onto the door of the 21 and basically just sucked them around. Like, as a race car driver, we all know, like, if you do that, like, there's basically nothing the car on the inside can do. He's already in that spot. So when you do that, you kind of are crashing them. And I think Jesse talked about it after the race too.
He owned it. He admitted that. Yeah, that was on him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because as a driver, you just know. I mean, that's what happens in that situation. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but I definitely feel like there's definitely some lack of pace and like they just seem to be not quite as big of a threat as they had been, in the previous years at a lot of the tracks, right? Like you kind of felt like they could win at any of them. And now it just kind of seems like maybe that's not the case right now in this moment. Not to say that they're not going to get there, because I feel like they're, all these teams over the off seasons, my team included, other teams, it's like you make a push to be better. And sometimes that push isn't always necessarily in the right direction. And you have to find your way back to where that real speed is. And yeah, I mean, that's a challenge. That's a tough thing about this sport, is that you're pushing to find that extra pace, find that speed. Can we be better at this track? Can we do this? And then you start going down a road that ultimately could be the wrong road, and you got to find your way back. And so I think that might be some of it that's happening. But yeah, I mean, RCR is a top team. I mean, it's tough to see the struggles that they've been having on the Cup side with Kyle Busch. I remember, several years ago, Kyle Busch goes to RCR. He comes out of the gates and he wins Fontana, which is like the second or third race. Then, we were there for a delay because the weather was so bad, and I sat and watched Kyle win that race at Fontana. I watched the whole thing, and it just, it seemed like they had a hot start together, and now that the teams have had more times with this car, and it just seems like they've lacked some pace, and hopefully they figure it out. I know they have some smart people over there, and I know even RC was saying, we got to make these cars better, and it just again, it's like that push to make the cars better, right? Sometimes it takes some time, or you don't necessarily go in the right direction, but you got to do something. You got to figure something out. So. I think they're probably in that stage, if that makes sense. Yeah,
that does make sense. And I don't want to oversell. Like Austin Hill, I think you look at the numbers, Austin Hill's been a little more inconsistent than expected. But Jesse Love is still right there. He hasn't won a race, but I was just looking at the numbers. He has the second most stage points. I think he's actually led the most laps, at least among series regulars. So it's like Jesse Love's not far off. Yeah. He's just not, he hasn't won a race yet. So it's somewhat eyebrow raising. I think it's interesting with Jesse because, I know he's a guy, he's got Cup Series aspirations. I think he's well regarded as a Cup prospect over the next, couple of years or sooner. But he's racing Talladega this weekend, I'm pretty sure, in the Cup car. But I remember last year him talking about, he's good buddies with Connor Zilic. They had a friendly rivalry, and like Connor was the carrot on the end of the stick. That was what motivated him week in, week out. And he talked about this at Phoenix at the end of the year. Like Connor Zilic motivated Jesse Love to be better week in, week out. Connor's not in the series anymore. He does have a win. Even part-time, he's got a win already. But Connor's not racing in this series full-time. So it's interesting. Like, I would be interested to know from Jesse, what is his motivation right now? Is it getting to the Cup Series next year? Is it Justin Allgaier? Is it just beating his teammate, being the best at RCR? I'd just be interested. I don't know if you can speak to that, Brennan. Do you, week to week, have any sort of, tangible motivation? Like, I want to beat this guy or reach this mark. Is that something that how you operate, or is that different driver to driver?
I think for me, each week I'm just trying to be the best race car driver I can be. So I make sure that I'm watching film and going over notes and having meetings with my crew chief and spotter, and knowing what our plan is for the weekend, knowing all the little details, things that have happened in races previously. And I'm just trying to be the best race car driver I can be. Of course, there is some fight in me to get back to racing full time on Sundays, get back in a top team and fight for wins on Saturday in the O'Reilly Series. I mean, that fight is still in me, and I do have that little chip on my shoulder fighting for that, because I've in my career I haven't always been in the best position to do that every single week, and I want to get back into winning races, which is what I've done my whole life until I got my first break in the NASCAR O'Reilly Series. So, for me, that's what is pushing me. But I think, for Jesse, I mean, he's the previous series champion. I think there's some pressures that come along with that, and pressures to continue to perform, and maybe he feels some of that. I know that he's probably fighting to get to Sundays. All these young guys are. Everybody wants to do it. It's the dream, right? So there's definitely, and with that comes extra pressure, and you get these opportunities to race, some of these one-offs that they're doing, really to get laps, get more seat time in the car, feel the flow of the races, because Cup is a little different animal. But you're not, you're kind of with guys that aren't going to the race all the time. You're not really in a real serious competitive situation, to opposed to the other 36 cars that are doing it every single week with their same guys week in, week out. Those guys are like fine-tuned machines. It's really hard. Like, Cup is really, really crazy challenging. So it's tough, and you got to keep that confidence, because it's easy to lose. And I think, again, I mean, to your point, I mean, I know that he has all those stage points, and he's probably going to be in contention to win this weekend in Talladega in the O'Reilly car, but there's still some pressures there to perform and not having a win yet. Yeah, I don't know. You just have to see how it goes. I mean, but I feel like Jesse is definitely one of those guys that can be a Sunday guy for sure. Super quick, super likable. He's good in interviews. He does all the right things, right? So, sure. Austin Hills is the same way. I know he's not a fan favorite, but he is entertaining. So, and he's won a lot of races.
That's true. That is true. I want to focus on one young guy. I mentioned him earlier, but Corey Day. I feel like Corey Day has been a big storyline. I don't know how well you know Corey. I've only talked to him like once or twice in like press conferences and like media things. So I don't know him personally. But the story of, he's a dirt racer from California, has been getting comped to Kyle Larson. Then Kyle Larson sort of signed on and endorsed and said, hey, this kid's got it. Jeff Gordon, Hendrick were like, all right, let's take a chance on him. Hendrick has a full-time O'Reilly Series car this year now for Corey Day. And the first few weeks he had speed, but was running through guys, was making aggressive moves early, getting himself into trouble. He's cleaned it up a bit. I know he got into someone at Vegas or at Kansas this last week, and I remember he sparked at least one spin. But by and large, he's kept it a little cleaner, and he's in the top 5, top 10 every week. He's 4th in points, just 20 years old. I don't know how well you know Corey, if you know him at all, but what have you seen from him this year just behind the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, just a few conversations at driver intros. That's really it. But I mean, I think he's got pace. I mean, I don't think speed is the issue. It's really just a racecraft thing, and that comes down to experience. I think when you jump out of the dirt car, especially like sprint cars and things like that, it's just like full tilt, like blah, right out of the gate. And when a stock car, you can't really do that. So I think there's been some learning to like slow everything down a little bit for him. And then, I mean, he's getting closer to figuring it out. I mean, he like dominated the first part of Rockingham. And it was like, ooh, is he figuring this out? Not quite yet, but I think there's going to be a moment in time where maybe he does figure it out and then he wins a couple, or maybe a couple in a row or something crazy. I don't know. I mean, I definitely know that 17 team is capable of putting incredibly fast race cars on the track. And so, yeah, I think it's just a, young rookie experience thing. But definitely the speed is there. It's a lot easier to slow him down than it is to speed him up. So I think he's going to be just fine. If he can settle down, find that that racecraft, that slowing the race down, getting control of the race, sort of like what he was doing at Rockingham. Like that was a glimpse of him figuring it out. So we just have to see how he progresses and see how he goes. But I definitely think when he figures it out, it might be like, oh boy, do you know what I'm saying? Can you see that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that with, you put young guys in good cars and it doesn't take much. Connor Zilic last year, I mean, I think he was kind of up and down the first month or two. It really was Talladega. I remember this weekend, a year ago, where he injured his back. He was in a crash, and then he came back a couple weeks later and won almost every race under the sun. Like, it was like all of a sudden a switch flipped maybe May of 2025 and they were unstoppable. So it can happen quick. I mean, Ty Gibbs, I think when he was, again, really good car, talented young driver, like switch flipped and suddenly he was winning O'Reilly races off rip, it felt like. So if you got the right situation, which I think Corey Day's in a really good situation to your point, it can come quick. They can come in bunches when you start to figure it all out. I want to ask you about this. This has become on the internet a very tenuous topic, but Cleetus McFarland, real name Garrett Mitchell, running ARCA, making a lot of ARCA starts. He ran top 10 at Kansas last weekend until they had a part failure, something in the engine broke, and he DNF'd, unfortunately. But we've seen him run top 5 in the ARCA East race at Rockingham. He made a bunch of laps before his O'Reilly Series debut at Rockingham. Struggled, I think, maybe predictably so, ran outside the top 30, a few slides, a few spins, brought the car home in one piece, but I think it became clear in that moment that, okay, yes, Cleetus McFarland, cool dude, brings an audience. He's driven a lot of awesome stuff. I mean, you put the average Joe out in an RCR car in an O'Reilly Series race, and they would do far worse. They would not make it all 250 laps or whatever it was. But it showed that, okay, right now in NASCAR, he's an ARCA level talent, I think. I think everyone watching would agree, okay, he's a good ARCA driver, still needs some seat time, some laps, some reps to get better at trucks or O'Reilly. But he's back in O'Reilly. Did you see the news yesterday? He's going to run the Nashville race next month, again for RCR. I mean, I get it. I think Nashville is probably a little easier track to get around than Rockingham, if I have to be honest. I mean, you would know better than I would. Yeah, it's not much easier. It says super speedway in the name. It's not Talladega. It's not mash the gas and turn left. So, I mean, he brings a lot of eyeballs. He's a fun character, a great story. But I enjoy watching him contend in ARCA more than I would enjoy watching him run 30th in O'Reilly. And then, of course, there's the approval process, which I think they have pushed the envelope on. What's your just reaction to Cleetus, what you saw at Rockingham and what you expect at Nashville and so on?
Yeah, I mean, Rockingham did not go very well for him. But, I mean, I think this goes to show, like, how hard this is. I think there's a lot of people that just think they can do it. And this is still pro sports. And even the guys in the back of the field, some of them are incredibly good at what they do. Everybody in the field is won big races at some point in their career. And I think when you are trying to do what Cleetus is trying to do, there's a reality where it's like, whoa, I just don't quite have the experience that a lot of these guys have in this field. I mean, even like we're talking about the young stars of tomorrow that are in the O'Reilly Series. These guys have been racing since they were 5 years old. They have raced all over the country in all kinds of different cars at all kinds of different tracks on all different kinds of surfaces. They, you're not going to beat those guys when you have none of that. And I think that for us, like on my side of things, I think it's good for a guy like Cleetus to come in, bring all these eyeballs. It's great, but then to also have that experience of how difficult this actually is, because then he can say, "Listen, I'm doing it. Like this is crazy hard. These guys are really, really good." And I think we just saw some of that. I mean, ARCA is a totally different thing, and I know even he said he's like, "I love ARCA." Like I was like, "Yeah," but I mean, if you ran more races and tried to race, like take those extra dollars and just run a lot of ARCA races and run some late model races and just gain that experience, go run some dirt stuff, modifieds, late models, whatever. And I think all of that would be good if you're trying to develop your skill set to race on Saturdays or race a truck or whatever, right? I mean, I think it just comes down to experience and I think he's certainly shown some ability to drive a race car. More seat time, more time driving different things. I know he's driven all kinds of crazy stuff, and he's got his own track, and he's done all kinds of things, right? But it's like that real race experience, real race, like learning how to set up passes. Yes, like, it's a different animal.
To your point, like this is a professional sport. Like, anyone can go out there and hit a baseball. Like someone soft tosses me a baseball, I can hit it. I can hit a decent line drive probably, but to hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball in the major leagues, like I used to play baseball as a kid, and even as a kid, they would teach like the form, the mechanics of the proper swing, so precise. Like baseball is much more of a precision-based sport than maybe the average fan watching from the stands realizes, and I think NASCAR is the same way. To your point, I think the average person sees a NASCAR race, and it's you're flat-footing it turning left. I can do that. I drive on the interstate every day.
Yes,
but in reality, there's so much more skill, precision, focus that goes into it. And it's just different. I think if Cleetus wanted to go race IndyCar and was in the Indy Next Series right now, he'd be going through very much the same difficult transition because, he's got natural – again, he is well ahead of me. If I were to get in a race car tomorrow, I couldn't touch Cleetus McFarland in anything. But he's still behind folks like you and these NASCAR drivers who've been racing NASCAR type stuff for many, many years. It's just a different discipline, and experience matters. So, he's getting it.
I mean, I've been racing on an oval since I was 5, and I'm 35 now. So, I mean, I was like 30 years, man.
And I think Cleetus is 30, so you've been racing ovals as long as Cleetus has been alive, and you're roughly the same age as Cleetus. So.
So it's like, it's just really difficult. We have been working on this. I've been working on this my entire life. I mean, it's just it's a very, very challenging thing to do, and I have experienced and seen things and learned things from other guys, and like just like any athlete that's been doing something since they were a kid. You try to jump in and do something later in life, it's like, man, it's hard. Like, I don't even want to stand in a batter's box and someone throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball near me. I just don't, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, but that's kind of like what he's trying to do. It would be like me trying to go out there and be like, oh, I can play baseball. I'm going to go play AA baseball. It'd be like, no, not a chance, right? Like, it's just a really, really difficult thing to do. So you got to admire him for taking on this journey and trying to do it, because it's tough.
Yeah, no, it takes guts. It takes nerve. It takes it's hard to do what he's trying to do, and I think he's handling it well enough. I'll do something Cleetus fans will like. I'll compare him to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, maybe the greatest American athlete ever, tried to go play baseball. To your AA baseball analogy, went to go play baseball. Wasn't very good. It's not because Michael Jordan's not an incredible athlete. It's because, again, each of these sports, and it applies to racing too, are very unique, very specific. They require specific skill set, specific experience, and he's gaining it. But to your point, he's years behind most of these other drivers in the field. So we'll see how he does at Nashville. Hopefully, just keeps the car pointed straight and can run all the laps like he did Rockingham.
Nashville's tough, man. Nashville is as tough as Rockingham. I mean, Rockingham is. It's a little bit tougher, but Nashville is, in my opinion, is a really, really tricky place. Really tricky. You're so fast, and it's tight corners, and it's concrete, and it's like it's true. Rough. I mean, it's just it's also difficult. Like you gotta drive that thing around there. So it's gonna be another difficult one. Like Rockingham and Nashville, I'll be like, woo. Those are like a couple of the hardest ones we go to.
Yeah, I mean No, for sure. And I didn't even think about concrete track. I mean, it's subtle things like that, different surfaces, something he maybe hasn't experienced, certainly not in a big stock car like this, but we're pulling for him. Good luck. Good luck to Cleetus. Hope he does well. Good for the sport. I love what he's exposing his audience to on a weekly basis. Brendan, before we get off the O'Reilly series, I teased this earlier. We started to talk about this earlier, but this week, one of NASCAR's senior executives, John Probst, spoke to the Sports Business Journal, Adam Stern, and the Sports Business Journal. They had a report out this week that says, and I'll just quote it here, Probst said NASCAR is evaluating the potential of one day using its crossover utility vehicle EV in the second-tier O'Reilly Auto Parts series to give that division a better brand identity. Now, I saw another quote from Probst that indicated maybe not necessarily turning the series into an EV series one day, but just using that crossover body to, again, give the series more of its own identity. I'll read one more quote. This one is from John Probst. He said, if you look at the brand identity of those three, of the three series, the O'Reilly series struggles a little bit just from the car perspective, and you see it a lot because we refer to it often as whoever the entitlement sponsor is. You get the Cup car, you got the truck, and then you have just the O'Reilly car. What is the O'Reilly car, I guess? So there's a lot there, and I think there's a few ways to look at this. I think, what's your initial reaction to that? Because then I got more, but what's your initial reaction to hearing those comments?
Well, I think we just have to be careful as a sport here on not messing up a good thing. I mean, I understand brand identity. I mean, I think referring to it as the O'Reilly Series or Xfinity or Nationwide or what,
Grand National.
It's been in the past. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing for the sponsors.
That's true.
Because everyone only calls it what the sponsor is, and I think that's a great thing. But I think. I mean, it's tough because our racing is so good right now, and I know that change is inevitable and something will have to happen. These cars now, we've been racing for a really long time, and now that the next gen is around, we're having a hard time finding parts for the O'Reilly cars, and eventually it will have to change in some form. And I think that's where we have to get really careful about the decisions that happen in order to keep the on-track racing product as good as it is right now, because it is pretty fantastic and everybody likes it. So you don't want to hurt that. And I think that's a tough thing to do. I mean, I've heard the rumblings about the EVs before and about making it, like our cars be like the crossover bodies. We're going to be out there racing in Chevy Equinoxes. I don't know. But transverse, and I don't know. I think that would be interesting, but I really like it being the way that it is, a car. I mean, just a car, and it being, sort of the support series to Cup. I think it's, it's pretty much perfect right now. I mean, in my opinion. I mean, I know that we will have to do some changes here, and I know,
diving into that, because that's what I hear is it's. There, you mentioned it's sometimes hard to find parts. Like now that the Cup Series cars are their own specified thing, can you dive into that a little more on the O'Reilly Series side? Because I know fans maybe don't want to hear that, hey, the car might have to change one day. But from what I've heard, that may just be the unfortunate reality, is that the O'Reilly Series, whether it's a crossover or not, probably will need a new platform in the next few years. But what can you say on that?
Well, I mean, before the next gen, a lot of the cars were running the same parts as Cup. So these Cup teams would have all these hand-me-down parts, basically, and you could buy them from them, and they were plenty good for us. Maybe a top Cup team wouldn't want to use them or whatever, and the Cup team would kind of put those parts down to their O'Reilly counterparts, right? Like Gibbs, Junior, they're using Hendrick stuff. Like, RCR, they're using their Cup stuff. Like, it would just kind of pass down. And, for a lot of the other teams in between, you could just go out and buy parts from Hendrick and from these big Cup teams and even other Cup teams that didn't have a O'Reilly team. They had parts to sell to get rid of. So you could find a lot of really good, useful stuff that were great. And now all of those parts are pretty much have been used up because the next gen has come in. Those Cup teams sold all those parts, so a lot of the O'Reilly and truck teams got all those parts, and now we're sort of kind of coming down to where it's starting to get hard to find replacement parts, whether it's axles and truck arms. I mean, people are making their own truck arms and stuff now. I mean, you have teams that are making their own parts, but at some point everything around the series is going to it's just going to become difficult to we're just going to be making everything as if we were just Cup teams. So it starts to become not real. It just starts to become not really a realistic thing to do. And the Cup teams, eventually the next gen car will evolve and it will change. And those parts are going to become, what are they going to do with all of them? So I imagine, and there's going to be some world here where the O'Reilly series gets some version of a next gen. And we are going to be able to use a lot of those parts that the Cup teams are now not using or don't think are good enough for them to use on Sundays, and it'll kind of start to pass down that way. And I think that will happen in the next couple of years, just because it makes the most sense economically. But my concern is just about the on-product racing and being able to still put on shows like we're putting on now. And I think that is everyone's concern. I think the sport, I think the higher ups at NASCAR care about that as well, and they want to make sure that the races are still great and entertaining and exciting. And how do they do that? And I think that's what they're trying to figure out over the next couple of years, so that this transition happens and is really successful for all the fans and everybody watching.
Yeah. No, I think the O'Reilly series, if it has an identity right now, you mentioned kind of a support series. Sure, to some it's still kind of a development series, but really I think for many now in the next gen era, the O'Reilly series is like old school to some degree, because like you said, a lot of teams do still build their own parts, and it is still, it's not a spec car like we have in Cup nowadays, and the racing, the cars slide around a little more. It's still got 5 lug nuts on the wheels. It's kind of the old school NASCAR that maybe people like me and you and even older, it's closer to what we grew up with. So I think it does have an identity, just naturally, more than likely, like you're saying, economically, the platform may have to change in the next few years. But I agree, like the number one priority for NASCAR and all its partners should be creating a car that still makes good racing. And I'm not sure a straight up like next gen hand me down to the O'Reilly series, if it's the same next gen we see on Sundays now, I don't think that's what most fans want to see. Do we need the O'Reilly series to look like crossovers, even if it's 3, 4, 5 years down the line? Do we need them to look like a Chevy Equinox, or can they just be a badass racing machine that still has all the Chevy branding on it, has all the Ford and Toyota and whoever else branding on it? Like, it's a way of thinking I hope the sport and its sponsors can buy into, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, 100%. I think we have to remember that at the end of the day, this sport is about entertainment, and what drives everything is the fans. And we need to make sure that the races and things are still very entertaining, and that the battles are fun to watch, and that the drivers can drive the cars in a way that create those battles and those exciting moments. But yeah, I mean, I think manufacturers still are going to have to be involved in some way, because it's big business, and that's just the way it's going to be. But you would hope that together with their engineering and the support of NASCAR, that everyone together could collectively make a car, or make the rules in a way that help us to deliver those exciting races. But I mean, I look at right now, like the Chevrolet. I drive a Chevy. It doesn't say Camaro on it anymore, even though because they don't make a Camaro anymore. Yeah. But it's like it's a Chevrolet. So it's kind of in a way, since what you're saying already, it's like it just has Chevy branding on it, and it is a Chevy, but it's it's not. We're not really advertising a make of car that it is. So is it important? And I don't think it is. I think the fans care about their drivers, and their drivers, what manufacturer they are aligned with. Like, Hendrick fans are going to be diehard Chevy people, and they're driving their Silverados and their Tahoes and whatever else, right?
So they'll root for whatever Chevy's on the track, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the way that it's going to be, but I don't think that they're purposefully purchasing a vehicle because it was in the race anymore. I think people are just more aligned, like, oh, my guy's Larson or whatever, and he drives for Chevy, and they support that. I don't think it's necessarily has to be this car is the car, and you know what I mean. And to your point,
we need some sort of like study done on this, on consumer habits, because I bet
I'm sure there's one. I'm sure NASCAR has one somewhere.
They probably have, but if they haven't, like I would bet the results align closely to what we're talking about, but maybe they don't. Maybe fans really.
Maybe we don't know what we're talking about.
Maybe Camrys are flying off the shelves because people love Joe Gibbs Racing or 20 or something. I don't know. Maybe it's who knows. Well, that was fun, Brendan. We talked a lot about O'Reilly series. We'll get back to the O'Reilly series in a moment, because we will talk a little more Talladega. But I want to just run a couple Cup Series topics by you. We'll start with Tyler Reddick. I guess speaking of Toyota, I mentioned Camry, I mentioned 2311. Tyler Reddick, dude, 5 wins in the first 9 races. Toyota's obviously got some speed right now. They've got the balance just right at most tracks. Just what can you say? What can you say about the run Reddick is on and that whole team?
It's pretty impressive. It's been pretty fun to watch. I like Tyler, so I was teammates with him in the past. I spent a lot of time with him, so I enjoy seeing him do well. But I mean, I think all of 2311 has picked it up. I mean, across the board. I mean, the 23 car, the 35 car, they have all been running better than they have in years past. And Reddick's knocking it out of the park. His team is in sync. Now, I don't know. I mean, there have been times where, even in this next gen era, where we have seen a team figure something out, and then they kind of dominate. And I feel like they might have figured something out here. And I don't know how long it's going to take for the other teams to catch up. But right now, I mean, he is in the hunt every single week. I mean, he is in the hunt, whether he wins the race, which he's won 5 out of 9. So whether he wins the race or he's in the top 5, he is literally right there with a shot at it every week. So their cars are driving really well, and they have a lot of speed. And then they've got a great race car driver in Tyler Reddick that's able to maximize it and put him in position to win the race. And man, it has been fun to watch.
Yeah, and to your point, like over the course of the next gen, it's been sort of building towards this. Like that first year, I think they had 19 different race winners in 2022, tons of parity. Nobody had really figured it out. And then you started to see like, okay, Penske's figured it out at the flat tracks. You know, they're unstoppable at Phoenix and Martinsville. Maybe the Toyotas and Chevys are better at the intermediates. You'd always see, Joey Logano and Austin Cindric would lead all the super speed. Like teams started to figure out specific track types. And then slowly but surely, like last year, I don't think you saw as many different winners. It was a lot more Gibbs, Hendrick, Penske, some 2311 here and there, Roush here and there. There's a few sprinkled in. But now it's like it looks kind of like it did at the end of the Gen 6 when you had the big 3 in 2018, or Harvick and Hamlin dominating 2020, Larson dominating 2021. Like it's been building towards this. And I also think it's a perfect storm for Toyota because Chevy has a new body on the Cup side that they're maybe still trying to figure out a bit. Ford's just been up and down inconsistent in general the last couple of years. Like Ryan Blaney's pretty much good everywhere, but everyone else, it's like Joey Logano the last few weeks. You never know what you're going to get week to week. So, yeah, I just think it's a perfect storm, and it's also sort of been building to this. So I'm not shocked to see, Denny dominate at Kansas. I mean, Larson led a lot of laps too. Kyle Larson's always in the picture because he's Kyle Larson, Hendrick cars.
Yeah.
But, Hamlin, Ty Gibbs finally got a win. Reddick, obviously, Bubba Wallace having his best season yet. You mentioned even Riley Herbst. I'll give Herbst credit. Finished 14th this past weekend. In fact, Heim was 15th, so all four 2311 cars, top 15. I don't think that's ever been done, so they're just hitting on it. It's kind of been building towards this, but they're taking full advantage, to their credit.
Well, I just think back to, do you remember when Harvick's spoiler was moved over and that whole thing, and like they finally noticed it in tech, and it was like when the 4 car, they won like every race or whatever, and then someone, it's like,
I remember, could
there be something? I don't know. I mean, when you have this level of dominance, and I mean, you don't want to say it's because someone's doing this or doing that. I'm just saying I think they have figured something out with the race cars within the rules that are making them fast. Sure. And I think really a lot of the Toyota, I mean, to your point, Denny Hamlin has been right there every single week. Ty Gibbs got his first win. Christopher Bell's been up there in the mix. All of them have been pretty quick. I mean, it's the Toyotas like every week. So they definitely have something figured out, and I don't know. I mean, I think the same thing that you're talking about with not as many new winners, right? I think these teams have had enough time with these cars now that a lot of them know what's fast. A lot of them know where the gray areas are, and those big teams are becoming the big teams again. And you're having a little bit more separation from the other teams that may be in the middle. And I think that's also kind of interesting to watch and to see how that went from there to where it is now, and what's going to happen over the next couple of years and when we get another new car again, I think.
No, that's interesting. And your Harvick point, I think that offseason 2020 to 2021, I thought I remember reading there's like they made a change to something in the rear of the car, like a rules change, and it felt like, maybe that's where Haas and Rodney Childers, maybe that's where they lost their advantage because they went winless the next season. I don't know. You're right. Maybe it was the spoiler. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
To your point, though, about the top teams separating from the mid-pack teams, I mean, we've seen that this year with Trackhouse. They look lost at most weeks. RCR, especially with Kyle Busch, looks lost most weeks. I want to ask you real quick on Kyle. I know we talked about him briefly at the top of the show, but the past week or so, I guess Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin have a little feud going. Denny was, I think, fair but critical of Kyle and RCR on his podcast. Busch was like, hey, yo, if Denny wants to drive my car, I'd be willing to trade anytime. Show me you can do better. I saw another clip from a podcast. Busch was, calling out Hamlin, saying Hamlin says I'm washed. All this. I'm like, whoa. I haven't heard Denny's latest response, but Kyle Busch is struggling. That part is obvious. He's 27th in points. He hasn't won a race in 3 years. But I want to ask you, Brennan, as someone who's obviously driven cars your entire life, but has also driven the next-gen car, how much, from the outside looking in, obviously, but how much do you think the 8-team struggles are driver versus just the team not having it?
I don't really think that it's Kyle Busch, to be honest. I think if you look at all the RCR cars, no matter even when like Jesse Love or Austin Hill come and run that third car and other things, they're just not really, they just don't really have it. But there have been years, like I said in the past, like we're talking about this separation amongst the field where Kyle won 3 races in the RCR car, Austin Dillon's won races in the car, in the next gen car, although one of them I know was controversial. But you know what I mean? It's been, it's not. So I don't think it's necessarily him because he's won in this car. So how can you say any different? Yeah. It has to be just they're not giving the drivers the tools that they need right now in order to have that success. And I know it's been a couple of years now, but that's really what I see. The next gen car is, as a driver, you can't from my experience, you can't really carry it a whole lot. All the drivers get all the data and they can see what every driver is doing. And now it's been so long, every driver knows exactly how to make speed in the next gen. They're just kind of like copying each other because you can see it. They give you the data and you go, oh, he lifted here, he braked here, he shifted there. And then they just go replicate it. And then that's why the field is so tight because everyone knows how to drive the car. So I don't necessarily think that that's the issue. I think there have been some guys that are maybe better at driving this style of race car that maybe we have seen jump forward in maybe be in the mix more because of the new car than where they were with the previous car before this. And so I think there is some of that, but I don't think you can say that like, oh, Kyle Busch can't carry this car as much. When he's already won in it. He that's multiple times. So I think he won on dirt in the Gibbs next gen car, and then he won Fontana, and he's won a super speedway, and it's like he's won at every different track.
He won Gateway.
So I'm kind of like, well, I don't know if that's it. I think the team is just off, and they've got to make the cars better.
And they've got a new crew chief this year, which there might be just communication. They have to improve that or get used to each other there.
Well, his crew chief is now Zilich's crew chief, right? Am I off on there? I think
Randall Burnett went to Zilich, and they're not
went to
great
Zilich,
right now.
And it's also not going well. So you know what I mean? It's just I think too these cars are very sensitive. I know from my experience, you change the ride height a little tiny bit, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's multiple tenths there, and so I think it's just. Man, it's hard. It's hard to get these cars right, and the bigger teams have a bigger advantage. But I think not that I want to jump around off the Kyle Busch thing, but the most surprising thing to me this year has been Logano. What is happening?
Inconsistent,
He's a champion in this car. He's won a lot of races in this car, and then you go to Darlington, arguably a great track of his, and he's 30th all day, straight up. I think for me, that's kind of that shows the swing. So
you're like Joey didn't forget how to drive overnight. I think the reason Kyle has become such a gray area is because it has been 3 years since he won, and I agree. I think everyone would agree. RCR has not been very good in those last 3 years. They're obviously missing something that the bigger teams have figured out. But I don't know, 3 years is a long time, and you're like, man, Kyle Busch was 37 years old the last time he won a race in his prime. Whereas now he's over 40. I think he's about to turn 41. And we think about Jimmy and how he seemed to just fall off a cliff in his 40s. And other drivers, similarly, now it's starting to get to the point where maybe we are doubting Kyle because of his age, because of just how the last few years have gone. So I get where some of the Kyle criticism comes, but I agree. I don't want to put a percentage on it, but I'd probably say it's 85 to 90% car right now. And maybe 10% Kyle not quite adjusting. I don't, because we've seen when Kyle's had decent RCR cars, he'll slip here or there. He'll try to get a little too much. He'll spin out. So we've seen him overstep, but again, I think that's sometimes him, to your point, trying to carry a car that is much more difficult to carry. So maybe there's a little bit of an adjustment missing, but I think it's the team. It's got to be, if you're assigning most of the blame, it's on the team for sure.
And here's what I'll say too, and we just heard Zilich talk about it after he won Bristol. You start to lose confidence in like everything.
Sure.
And I think Kyle is also probably going through some of that. He may not want to admit it, and I'm not certainly going to speak for what he's going through, but from the outside looking in, I'm saying that could be a thing where people are just losing confidence in the whole situation, and then it comes down to making a change. Like, do you see him finishing his career at RCR? Could he potentially go somewhere else? Like, could there be some more shakeup in the Cup Series over the silly season? I don't know.
I'll end with this question for you. Just put you on the spot. I don't expect you to have a good answer, but like Kyle Busch, free agent, do you think his stock has taken much of a hit, or do you even think that matters? Is there more financials that go into it? Like when looking for his next ride, how do you think the garage views Kyle Busch?
Man, that is a really difficult question because I don't know. I really have no idea what they think.
I put you on the spot because I don't know either.
For me, because how do you know? I mean, I don't know what they're thinking, but I do know I don't know how you pass on a guy like Kyle Busch. If you have the opportunity to put him in your race car, I think that's somebody you need to give him a shot at it, even if it's like for 1 year. You're like, we'll give you a year and we'll see what happens. I think you have to take that because he is such a he's just such an incredibly talented guy. And I still think he's hungry, which is why you see him carry that car too much, like when he almost won the race. I think it was Kansas, right? A year or so ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago, yeah.
He is he cares and he wants to win. And so I think that's a guy that he's obviously showing he's still hungry. I'm sure he's frustrated in the situation that he's in now, but because he does want to win. And that's a part of his, I don't know, it's like identity, but mentality. DNA, so I think that there are a lot of teams out there that would for sure just want to give him a shot and see what happens,
For sure. That's good. That's a good perspective on that. I appreciate you indulging me in that conversation. That's been a hot debate the last couple weeks. Our powerful hour, Brennan, is nearing its end, but I want to end this episode by looking ahead to Talladega this weekend. We'll start with the O'Reilly Series race that, of course, you will be participating in. You finished 5th in this race 2 years ago. We remember Daytona a few weeks back. You were in contention for the win on the final lap. And we also remember 2016, of course, was still to this day one of the most hotly contested finishes of any NASCAR race in modern history. So we know you know how to get around this place. We know your team has this race circled. It's going to be tough to beat the 21. He won both Talladega races last year, but what's your outlook? How are you approaching Dega this Saturday?
Well, I think there's a couple of different things that I could do because I am in the hunt for the playoffs right now, and so we have to be really smart about what we decide to do this weekend. So we have to look at everything. But I mean, there's a chance that I may race for some stage points and try to capture the elusive stage points for me that have been this year.
Put a crooked number up in that category. That'd be nice.
Please, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a chance. We have to see if I feel like I can get up there and get them safely. Then I will try to do that. But it's a tough thing because I also want to make sure I'm in position at the end of this thing to have a shot at winning. I think winning the race is definitely the most important thing. So we have to go into the weekend and make sure we make those decisions and make the right decisions. And it's tough to do. When do you go? When do you not go? What's the energy of the pack like? I'm constantly trying to read all of those things amongst me and my spotter to make a decision, and at Daytona, we get down to the end of it, we're in a good position, and it's like, well, we got to go. And I know there were some people on our team that were like, I think it's too early to go. But there becomes a point in the race where you have to go and race, or you run out of time to get there, if that makes sense. And
the last thing you want to do is get caught up in the wreck without having taken a shot at it, because that could also happen anytime.
Right, and balancing out that decision on when it's time to go is the most difficult thing. And I think last year at Talladega, we waited a little bit too long, just thinking like, there's got to be another one, and then there isn't one, and you're like, I got to go now, and it's too late. So you just want to make sure you pull the trigger at the right time and just get up there and get yourself in the mix. But you don't want to get into a crash. It's a very challenging, difficult thing to do, and we have been able to do it as a team multiple times. And I've been in that position so close to winning now multiple times. So hopefully we can just do that again and it go our way at the end of the race. You're trying to, make someone push you, force yourself in certain situations, remember to side draft, remember to do this, control the lanes. It's just a challenging thing to do. And you got to have friends. Someone's got to go with you. And, I was lucky at Daytona. Justin Allgaier went with me all the way. He was just committed to me, and that was made all the difference. And at Talladega a year ago, we finished fifth. I had Alfredo pushing me and get to the tri-oval, and he doesn't stay committed, and we both end up not getting a good that was the difference in me winning the race and finishing fifth. So, you just have to have some things go your way, and you got to put yourself in that position. So,
yeah. Well, it's going to be fun to watch. I'll be rooting for you. I'm sure hopefully everyone watching and listening to this are rooting for the 44 as well. I want to ask you about the Cup race real quick. NASCAR's changed the stage lengths for this race in an attempt to try and curb the drastic fuel-saving measures, teams, drivers just riding around in a pack half throttle for 40 laps. Now the stages are 98 in the first stage, so there'll be potentially a green flag pit stop in there. You'll probably see some fuel saving in that stage. But then the final two stages are 45 laps each. I think at the very least, that final 45 laps, you'll probably see most everyone go close to 100% the whole time. But I imagine before those final 45, you're still going to see fuel saving. But what do you expect to see? Austin Cindric won this race in the spring, Chase Briscoe in the fall, so not a ton of consistency there. It's the Cup Series at Talladega. It looks a little different than it used to, but it's still a spectacle, to say the least.
Well, I'm curious to see what happens. I mean, I really don't know. I think, from hearing from a lot of the Cup guys, they're saying they're still going to be saving fuel, and they don't really feel like a whole lot is going to change in the dynamic of the race. But we'll have to see what happens. But I mean, I think it's good they're trying something different. I think all of the guys are thankful that they're trying to go in a direction to stop it. I mean, you're riding around Talladega half throttle. I mean, no one's really doing anything but saving fuel. It's just not fun. And I think they're wanting it to make it more fun and more exciting to watch. So we'll see. I mean, maybe that last stage being shorter, making them push all out to the end of the race, creates a little bit more drama, a little bit more, maybe another crash in there somewhere because of the shorter distance and having to go get yourself in that position. The Cup car is a lot harder to put yourself in position to win. You can't kind of just like ride around like in the O'Reilly series. I can kind of ride around and then push my way to the front, and I can get there if I'm teamed up with somebody, a good car. You can't really do that in the Cup Series. They kind of end up getting like 2x2, and like they kind of get the field kind of gets blocked. Yeah. So
sometimes that third lane gets moving, but it's finicky.
Yeah. And if someone bails out of it, it's like then the whole line's gone again, and they got to retry it again. So I'm curious to see what that last stage looks like, and how aggressive guys get to try to get in position to win the race. I mean, and so we could see some crazy, exciting things happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'm excited they did something different to try to make this race just change the dynamic of the race.
Yeah, I'm glad they aren't sitting on their hands. They're like, no, we're going to try something in the short term. And I know long term, they said they're going to have Cup Series testing next winter, maybe going to tweak some things on the car for super speedway. So I'm looking forward to that, because making the racing better will hopefully curtail some of the fuel saving extremes. This was fun, Brendan. Man, I feel like we blew through a lot of topics, dove in. We still managed to dive in deep on some of them. I hope fans listening and watching enjoyed all that. This was good, man. This was great to catch up. We'll definitely have to do this again soon, get back in the regular routine of these Power Hour podcasts as the year goes on, man. But this has been good, dude. It's been good to catch up.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. Enjoyed it. It's so much fun getting to talk racing. I love it.
Yeah, and fans watching and listening, leave a comment. This is our first one of the year, so we didn't have relevant fan questions to answer, but we do like to answer fan questions at the end of these episodes. So if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. We may answer it in the next show. If you're listening to us, you can also tweet at us as well. Both me and Brendan, we're on X, we're on Twitter. You can tweet at us questions. We'll put them into the deck as well for future episodes. But this has been fun, Brendan. Really appreciate you taking the time. It's always fun to sit down and do these shows. And Talladega on deck. We're going to be pulling for that 44 car, man. Let her rip.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening.